Hello, welcome to episode 386 of Sree's Sunday New York Times Read Along. Today is February 8th. Our host, of course, is Sree Srinivasan. My name is Neil Parekh, and I am the executive producer and guest host. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and our Digimentors website. Like we always are on Sunday mornings. Please like, comment, share, retweet, do all the things that you do to share this show. We have several topics we're going to cover today. The most important, I think, is the massive layoffs at the Washington Post and the impact it'll have on journalism. We'll also talk about, of course, the Olympics. We'll talk about the Super Bowl, which is tonight. We also will cover Donald Trump's recent comments about nationalizing the elections, which are, disturbing. But again, almost every day something has been disturbing about what's come out of this administration. We will also talk about the latest in the Epstein Files. So there's a lot to cover. Please let us know where you're watching from. Make sure to tag a friend so they know about the show. A few quick announcements. First, we want to thank our sponsors, Muck and Graphic History Company, for their support of the show. Muck, of course, is a longtime sponsor, and Graphic History Company joined us just a few months ago. Thank you so much for your support. The show, of course, is produced by Digimentors, the production company or social and digital company that Sree started with his good friend Andrew Lee several years ago. I am proud to be a vice president of events and communications for Digimentors. We're, of course, our production partner is Scroll.in. We are so proud to be working with them, one of India's most important websites, to be able to bring this show to audiences in India. Let's go ahead and bring on our host, Sree Srinivasan.
Yep.
Sree, welcome to the show.
Hey, Neil. So happy to be here, to be with everyone watching live or later. Thank you. We do this every Sunday like crazy people for 10 years. We've been reading the print edition of the New York Times out loud on social media. We have so much to talk about, a big news week and a big news day. And there's so much going on that I even forgot the Olympics had started. I care so much about the Olympics, or at least used to, that I would watch at least the opening ceremony and then follow some of the important storylines. The biggest, I thought, going into this was that Lindsey Vonn, the champion downhill skier, had torn her ACL and decided to compete anyway. And, it's hard enough to just walk around with a torn ACL. She was going to go do an Olympic race. And I see that she crashed in a race this morning. I got a news alert from the Times and the Athletic. So that's too bad. Yeah. But so a very brave woman. And it's just too bad that that's happened. Folks are watching from around the world, and we're so grateful to you for being here. Let's start and say hello to different folks. I see Pradnya watching from the DMV, which is the area around Washington, D.C., a former guest and great friend of the show. I see that Patricia Freudenberg is here. Grace and greetings from New York City. Ken Fisher is watching from Iowa. And Ken says, good morning, friends. Lindsey Vonn crashes in Olympic women's downhill, airlifted off the course. They're very difficult, and tells you how much of a competitor she is. Ellen is watching from the Upper East Side. Jonathan is watching. He's John. He prefers John Borstein, watching from Frozen Greetings from the East Village. This weekend in New York City, just for people to understand, the wind chill was going up to going down to minus 27 Celsius, which is just insane to think about. And Deborah Kerr is watching. Good morning from South Florida. Looking forward to the conversation. She was in conversation with us, with Neil, about her trip to the Antarctica, and I wonder how she feels about the cold. Here is Happy Sunday from Fort Lauderdale, and Dr. Tachi watching, former guest. Last January, the day before Donald Trump took took over this country and the world and set it on its current path. Dr. Tachi and I were sitting by a pool in Miami doing the New York Times read along, and that was very special and a moment. The world has changed so much since then, Dr. Tachi. John Lee is watching. Bring on the heat. We need it in NYC. Diane Stefani's watching from Sub-Zero, Margate, New Jersey. And Pradnya says some of us crazy people have been watching for 10 years. Yes, you have.
Yes.
Thank you to the folks who've done that. Just to show you how beautiful the day is, even though it's so cold. We're looking at the East River and Long Island City over there. That's Roosevelt Island and Cornell Tech, and that's UN headquarters. One of the things, Neil, I've never been able to understand is that you have a building on the river like that and no windows on those sides of the building. Isn't that stunning?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would you build a building like that with the river? But of course, that was a Starchitect who built that. Mary C. Curtis is watching. Make it stop, please. Looking for insight and comfort from Charlotte. She could be talking about the cold. She could be talking about what's happening with the Washington Post, with so many things going on. With just a couple more greetings, and then we'll get to the show. Doug Levy is watching from the San Francisco area. Please make sure you hit play on the video on Facebook, on Twitter, and LinkedIn so that we can see your comments if you write there. So that's really important. Neil, how's it down in DC in terms of the temperature?
It's cold, Sree, and
Mm,
more than that, it's the wind. The wind
mm.
chill is what's driving it down. I think it was going to get down to negative 20 Fahrenheit, and it certainly is impacting all sorts of outdoor activities. We actually were concerned about losing power yesterday. They're saying the winds were so bad, gusting to 50 miles an hour. So we're just doing our best. But thankfully, we didn't lose power. We're still here, and it's we're just waiting for this snowcrete to melt. This snow and concrete
No.
snow, kind of ice mixture. We're looking at 40-degree weather next week and 50-degree weather the week after. I don't know what your forecast looks like.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit warmer when it gets to just freezing temperature. That feels like warm.
Yeah,
Stefan Kaplan, good friend, and who works with us at Digimentors. Oh my God! Okay, old man winter, we give up. Enough. Stay warm, everyone, and good morning. We have so much to talk about. We're just going to glance at the paper just to see what the headlines are, and then we're going to come back to it.
yeah,
I like to always show our friends the Saturday edition of the Times so we can see what changes in a day. And this is the headlines from yesterday. Trump posts, then erases racist video of Obama's. Apes depiction is latest affront in a pattern of denigrating Black Americans. And it's unusual for the Times, I think, to be so direct, Neil, and just saying it in the headline like that. They try to be a little careful. I'm glad there's nothing to need. There's no need to be careful here. This is absolutely atrocious. And several news articles I saw didn't actually include the screenshot of the Obamas depicted as apes, and I think that's wrong. You must show
I agree.
what is going on because that it's so egregious. You cannot kind of try to protect your audience. There's no need to do that. The only way we understand what's going on is if we are shown what's going on, and we need to see that.
Agree 100%. It really, I think it does a disservice to readers and viewers if they don't really understand what the context is. People can really use the excuse, "Oh, it must not have been that bad. It must not have been, so egregious." You need to put it in their face. What are you looking at, Sri?
I was looking at the story about the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, IPAC, and it says Israel backer losing sway on Democrats. And another story here is after cuts, Afghans face hunger and death. 450 health centers and programs that fed millions close. And you know that Trump always blames Biden for the terrible way in which the pullout happened, but he signed the deal with the Taliban. He forced the timetable of the pullout. Biden certainly botched some of it, but the setup was under Trump. and the first administration. And here it is
Yeah.
at Vaughn at 40 is going for gold on one good knee. ACL injury poses test an insane comeback. And of course, now we've seen the results of that. And in New England, some fans say, go Seahawks, quietly tormented by Patriots'
Yes.
success. Wow, I don't know what that story is.
There's several fans in New England that I glanced at the story who are not Patriots fans. The idea, you assume everyone in New England is rooting for the Patriots in the Super Bowl this evening, and the joke is the rest of the country is rooting for the Seahawks. But there are several fans of other teams around Boston, Maine, Rhode Island, etc. So that's what they're
I had no
referring to there.
idea. I thought it was New England, right? Instead of being, I think it's the only town, only team named after an entire region rather than a
Mhm.
city or
Yeah,
or a state. All
yeah,
right. So now that was yesterday's paper. Let's see what's changed in the paper today. The lead story is cartels fire off deadly rounds produced in the U.S. And so that means that our weapons are being used, smuggled to Mexico, downing choppers with ammunition made at federal site. And the Epstein letters on the wealthy hint at secrets, seeking leverage from alleged illicit trysts. Oh, God. Just the story that will never end. It turns out, as you know, Neil, that the people who said there is a pedophile ring of elites dominating the world turned out to be sort of right, except it was the wrong accusation they made was about liberal people doing that, but it was
yeah,
corporate elites doing that. There's nothing funny about this, but it just shows you once again when the conservatives and MAGA accuse the liberals of something, it actually on their side that it's happening. We've seen that. We call that projection in
yes,
politics, and that's what they've been doing. Let's see, what is this headline? From California back to Mexico, but on their own. And this is a long goodbye after 30 years in the US. This is not what people voted for. They voted for getting rid of, arresting, prosecuting the worst of the worst, the rapists, the killers. That's what was promised to us. And look what's happening. They're arresting, kidnapping young kids, grandmothers, people who don't have a criminal record, and we're now all suffering as a result of that. Let's see what else is on the in the news. Do Americans want to party like it's 1976? I guess
250th
yes, that's what
anniversary,
it's about.
right?
Yep, yep. And then this is a very important section that we have here called Remaking America. And this is, they had, I think all of last year, they had ideas on what you could do to improve every state in America. And that's now been compiled into a special section. Neil, tell us about the special section and what that means.
Yeah, it's actually Sree. It's a little bit different than that in terms of if you look at the bottom of the page, it's 1 year into the. So they have another series where they're looking at environmental
Oh, okay.
steps that
Okay.
different states are doing. That's a different series. This
Okay.
one is 1 year into the Trump administration. Changes are everywhere, often turbulent and polarizing manifestations of the sharp right turn that President Trump promised for the country and the world. The New York Times found changes in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, and Washington, D.C., a cascade of effects from sometimes seismic shifts in policy on immigration, the economy, the environment, and more, affecting millions of Americans. So it's effectively how Trump has impacted every state
Mm.
in the country. One of the things that I want to point out, Sree, and this is my copy of it right here, is that we will be putting the PDF of this special section on our website after the show. So what I would encourage everyone to do, send me an email and we will make sure you're on our mailing list so you get the notification for that. So if you want to be
Neil at
added to our mailing list,
Digimentors. Neil at
exactly.
Digimentors.group. If you've already joined, that's great. You'll get that automatically. So you'll get a PDF version of this. This is a collectible and
Yes.
not available anywhere else. In the print, there are obviously digital versions of it, but as a PDF, will get it only here at the New York Times Read Along. If you're just joining us, folks, I'm Sree Srinivasan. That's Neil Parekh. And for 10 years, we've been reading the New York Times out loud because we believe in newspapers, we believe in print, we believe in fighting misinformation and disinformation. This is not to promote the New York Times, it's to be able to look at it, critique it, talk about it, and encourage you to subscribe to your local newspaper. We have done the Washington Post read along. We have done
Yes.
the Khaleej Times out of Dubai. We've done the Globe and Mail in Toronto. We have done so many different publications, but because this is the paper we both grew up reading, that's the one we're subscribing to now. I'm also a Washington Post subscriber, and we'll talk about the Post in just a moment. So please support local journalism. It makes a difference, and it's so important for the country and the world that we support journalism. Let's see who's joining us. We have folks from around the world, and we're very grateful to them for being here. Doug says, I'm so sad about Lindsey Vonn. What a great athlete, but what a risk she took by going out with a torn ACL going
Yeah.
on the slopes. And this is Neil's weekly chance to say hello to his mom, who's watching from Tampa in much warmer weather, though she'll complain that it's cold, I'm sure. And
Hi,
Auntie, I'm
Mom.
coming to Florida, but unfortunately not to Tampa. I'm going to be in Miami this week, but not in Florida, not in Tampa. And John says wind chill right now is -8 Fahrenheit, according to the Weather Channel. Somebody please quickly do the Celsius translation. I believe that we should, not just because it's a global show, but whenever we talk about the weather, apart from like with friends one on one, it's good to give both
Uh,
temperatures. It
Sree,
helps. Mhm.
that's -22 degrees
Oh my God.
in Celsius,
Eesh.
minus or negative 22 degrees.
Yeah, that's crazy. It really has been what a difference a year makes, says Dr. Chachi. Nikhil is watching from the Upper East Side. A day to
Yes.
stay inside. Nikhil's a good friend and a great journalist. And we are thrilled that he and so many other people are watching. We have someone watching on YouTube, and you can watch on all these different platforms and you can respond to us. Unlike when you're watching regular television, you can throw things at the TV and you are welcome to throw things at us, but you can actually talk back to us and get your comments on the air. And that's why we're doing this.
What One thing I'll note, Sree, just as a technical matter. So for watching on YouTube, like we talked about, we're live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and our Digimentor's website. But one of the things that's interesting is that for YouTube, if you're watching, some people like to watch on their TV, and sometimes even they'll comment on Facebook on their phone, but they like seeing it on the big screen. Um, what's interesting is that when you have YouTube set up on your TV, it'll sometimes default to the vertical view because we were both on horizontal on YouTube and vertical for YouTube Shorts. So what I would encourage you to do is actually it doesn't default to this, unfortunately. You have to click through to Sree's channel on YouTube, and then find the horizontal version of the show. And if you do that, you'll have a much better experience if you're watching on TV. If you're watching on your phone on YouTube, YouTube Shorts is one thing, but even on your phone, you could turn it sideways. It just doesn't work the same on TV for some reason. Just very, very interesting when that happens.
And that's a
Go
new
ahead, Sree.
problem. Our friend and my former student Vadim Lavrusik runs YouTube
Yes.
Shorts, and so I have to point this out to him so that he can help get this fixed. And it tells you how old I am that I have students like that who have gone on to run amazing things. I used to be a professor, folks who don't know me, at Columbia Journalism School, and I then went on to be chief digital officer of Columbia, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and then the City of New York. Neil's background is 25 plus years in comms as a journalist, and then working at nonprofits, including the great nonprofit, the world's largest nonprofit, United Way Worldwide. And he leads our work with a lot of nonprofits at Digimentors. By the way, if you're interested in having a show like this, podcast, any of those things, please get in touch, neil@digimentors.group. And we also do social media consulting, AI training, we do workshops, and we'd love to talk to you, love to partner with you and help increase your impact, whether you're for-profit, nonprofit, or anything else. Folks, please tell us where you're watching from. Please tell us about your Sunday, and please talk to us about the news and what's going on. I want to tell you that we are so upset about what's happened at the Washington Post, a great newspaper, a great institution that has been diminished dramatically right before our eyes. And it's the subject of my essay this week. Just went out on Sree Sunday Note on Substack. Please subscribe. It's sreenet.substack.com, sreenet.substack.com. If you if you get it, please open it, read it, share it. My core newsletter, my core essay will always be free. That's the commitment we've made. If you can support us by becoming a paid member, that's great. That allows us to pay others to write for us, to improve the work we're doing. And so please let us know if you'd like to be a sponsor. That would be great as well. And my headline is Jeff Bezos is the darkness killing democracy. This is about democracy dies in darkness being the slogan of the Washington Post. And what I did was I took Will Lewis is the CEO of the Washington Post that's brought us to this terrible state. And he quit yesterday after firing 300 people. Why couldn't he quit before the 300 people that he had to fire? And what I did here, Neil, as you can see, is I took his post, his goodbye letter, and annotated it. It said the institution could not have a better owner, and I removed the not. And then wherever he said support and leadership, I put quote marks. And difficult decision, sustainable future, all of this. And then I said, with gratitude, I changed to no shame in what he's doing. And again, this is no laughing matter. 300 people have lost their jobs. And what I've pointed out in this is the decisions are so stupid because this is about $40 to you and me, Neil, what it would take to save the Washington Post. And Hari Srinivasan, not a relative, but good friend, did the math as well. We both did the math. And basically, it would take just $40 for him to solve the problems there in terms of the money anyway, and he wouldn't do it. And Neil has a proposal. Hari has a proposal there. And I wanted to point out that there were so many stupid decisions. They shuttered the famed sports desk in a sports obsessed region. They closed foreign bureaus that help inform the most influential capital about what's going on in the planet. And they fired every photographer at a time when reliable photography is going to make a difference, and on and on and on. And this is a stunning graph here, Neil. I don't know if you have a thought on this to see how U.S. Unemployment has gone in just the last 30 years of our working lives. Look at this.
Yeah, no, I'll say, Sree, that it's not just stunning, but I remember when I moved to Seattle. Go back to the graph. I want to see how far back it went. This was just after, so it starts on 95. So I went to Seattle in 2001, just after the Seattle Times and PI, the Post Intelligencer, had at least 150-day strike. So, journalists that were losing jobs left and right. I had gone out there hoping to break into journalism there, and after a stint in New York, and that was just not possible. People were not getting jobs, or if they were getting jobs, they were getting, going from the city paper to local weeklies just to be able to stay in the profession. I think the other thing to talk about in terms of the Washington Post, Sree, and this is from some reporting from the Financial Times, which I think is interesting. Part of the story of Will Lewis leaving, firing. I think it's not exactly clear what
Kara
that
Swisher says it was firing. Kara says it was a firing.
Yeah, it was firing. Because in part, they were saying that he lost the confidence of the leadership. So this is from the Financial Times. Senior management was livid when they discovered he was actually at Super Bowl festivities in San Francisco when the job cuts came out, which came off as callous. The fact that Bezos lost patience after the Super Bowl thing is kind of I don't know what to make of that. But
Yeah.
then he was also criticized, if you remember last month. He offered no support when a Washington Post reporter's home was searched by
Mhm.
FBI agents.
Yeah.
So not only that he had lost the newsroom earlier, then the job cuts were announced. There was no communication from him about the buyouts. He didn't put out any kind of statement. I think it's just incredible. And then another timeline that I saw, Paul Farhi, one, he was mysteriously absent from the all-staff meeting Wednesday when they announced the cuts. He appointed a deputy to announce the largest cuts, and then was at a Super Bowl party Thursday before announcing his resignation Saturday. Just incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah, and here's a chart that applies to this show. Neil, by the way, I've sent you a little text that I'd like you to look at while I'm showing folks
Sure.
this. The juxtaposition between the New York Times on that day announcing that they've added 1.4 million digital subscribers last year, and that their earnings are, all of this. A newspaper that's concentrating on growing the newspaper. The owners, that's what they're doing. They don't have other interests of the scale of the New York Times, and so that's been very important. And we just want to show you that in our newsletter, we also run ads like we do in the New York in the New York Times read along, and we want to tell you that India Giving Day is back on March 13th. This is an annual effort to bring and increase American philanthropy to India, and a record 51 nonprofits will take part this year. And for 2 weeks, starting March 1st through March 13th, families, companies, individuals can contribute to their favorite charity and take part in person and in virtual events. It's going to be very exciting. And this is brought to you by the India Philanthropy Alliance. Please go to indiagivingday.org, indiagivingday.org, March 13th. You'll want to check it out. There's so much fun. And this is an example of how we're able to work with nonprofits and others to get your message out there. And before we just leave my newsletter, I do want to show folks my thoughts on Super
This
Bowl
is
Sunday.
their
Yeah,
website, Sree. Before you do
nice.
that,
I
India
see that.
Giving Days
Yeah,
website,
excellent.
The Power of Us.
Yeah,
So I'll share
beautiful.
that link in the comments.
And indiagivingday.org. Everyone, please check it out. And also in my newsletter are my thoughts about football and my association with the game since I was almost the day I arrived in the United States, and how much I love football. And I say that many people in my family cannot understand my love for the NFL because of the violence, the endless commercials, the lack of action. Did you know, Neil, that there are only 18 minutes of actual play in 3 hours? So that's kind of crazy. And then the countless games. Like, I would sit through 3 to 4 games every Sunday if I could. And that's on top of baseball, football, cricket, golf, all of those things. And I say here, imagine what I could accomplish if I had used those thousands of hours for something more productive. So that's my newsletter. It's called Sree Sunday Note. Please check it out on on Substack. We also are on LinkedIn. So if you're more comfortable with LinkedIn, you can find it in my LinkedIn. But otherwise, please check that out on Substack. Thank you, folks, for being here. This is the New York Times Read Along, and we're going to take a look at what's in the other sections of the paper as well. We have so much to talk about, Neil. So remember the special section that you can get on Remaking America. This is going to be a collector's item. You can get it on digimentors.group. Look for the New York Times Read Along. Look for today's episode, and Neil will put this up there when we're done. And we want to thank Wayne Camadoy, an art director at the New York Times, who works with us for all of these years.
In addition to that, Sree, if you go back, you had the Saturday edition in front of you. There's a Special Olympics preview
Yes,
that was in
and
that paper.
and such a
So
beautiful one too. So
yes,
some of you saw what they've done. So they've got this section here. You can see they've done a great job with that. And then you pull it open and you see it like this. They call this what, Neil? A double truck? Is that correct?
No, that's not it. That's just the picture goes across the fold. The double truck is more. I think double truck is more the inside when you open it up.
Inside. Okay. So see,
Right.
we're learning this technology,
I'll
this
double check that.
terminology. Um, our friend Mike Connors has taken us twice into the production printing plant in Queens so that we can do a read along there. We've also done a read along at the office of Jake Silverstein, the editor of the New York Times Magazine. And we did that as a Wednesday, the day the magazine comes out, inside the office, and we were there. So you look into our archives, you can find all kinds of cool stuff in there. And we do this every Sunday, 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. And thanks to popular demand and kind of haranguing by some people for 10 years, it's now available as a podcast. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts as well as on Spotify, and you can
Yeah.
check our archives out there. So you'll also
So
be able to see
we
this
have that
special
special
section.
section.
Yeah.
And we have the Super Bowl special section, which is in the Sunday paper, which you'll find in just a
Yeah.
moment.
If I can just
Um,
in a
I
jiffy,
will
I'll find it here. Yeah.
I will say that at least according to the quick search, and if someone who's watching, Wayne sometimes watches the show. Correct me if I'm wrong. A double truck ad is usually the centerfold. If they have 2 pages of the centerfold ad, is a double truck. I don't know what the term is when the picture spans the front and the back. That's a different term, I think.
So yeah.
But
So here's
that's the Super Bowl special.
and so you'll have this as well on the on in the read
3
along.
special sections: the Super Bowl, the Olympics, and what Trump has done to America.
That's amazing. I
Only
just
on
wanted.
our website.
Yeah, only nowhere else in the world. World exclusives. One of the things that's changed is that how they're now putting these Guardian. Do you see these what they call the Guardian helmet cover on top of regular helmets? They look so weird because the they're kind of padding on top of the metal. There's of course padding inside the helmet, but there's this padding outside. And so there's an article about that, and you'll be able to get that at digimentors.group/New York Times read along, and you can find it there and look for that section. Who are you rooting for? Where are you watching tonight?
So I will. I'll be rooting for the Seahawks after living in Seattle for 15 years. Certainly, and of course, being from New York, the Patriots. Don't care for them at all. Bill Belichick, even though Bill Belichick went to Wesleyan University,
Wow.
not going to claim him as a proud alum.
And
Him and Tom Brady
he
could
didn't
go.
make the first ballot Hall of Fame, which
No,
is that is funny that he didn't do that. Definitely should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he didn't. That didn't happen for a variety of reasons. Patricia says when the temperature is lower than my refrigerator, you know it's crazy cold. Mary C. Curtis says Trump and crew feel so inadequate next to the Obamas and what they represent. Black excellence. The policies
yes.
reinforce the racism. That's a wonderful headline for an essay for your next newsletter, Mary. If you haven't used it already, the policies reinforce the racism. Check out her Equal Times podcast if you can. Shashi is watching on LinkedIn. I need to subscribe to the New York Times along with the Wall Street Journal. As Peggy Noonan says, the capital of the most powerful country has no functioning newspaper. Stunning to think that. And Peggy has written an essay that's reverberated around the world. Everyone should find it. And Shashi, thank you for watching on LinkedIn. We're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on scroll.in, one of the largest channels in India. And we're also on Neil's Instagram. So please look out and find him on Instagram. And watching in Hell's Kitchen is Marion Berkeley. And so much happening. Sudha says Trump is after Obama right from the beginning. He accused him that he's not a citizen and not qualified to run for the US. And there's that famous, oh, you're showing roll call
Sorry,
and
Mary's latest column is
nice.
you don't need. I'll share the link, but you don't need to view U.S. law enforcement lawlessness through a Gestapo lens. Our own history provides plenty of examples of the consequences, and she's showing a picture of former Congressman John Lewis walking across the Selma Bridge at a commemoration in 2015. it's
One of the
very
highlights of our lives, right, Neil, is that we get to work with the John Lewis Foundation, the foundation named for him
yes.
and his wife. It's such a cool, special thing for us to do that. If you check my Twitter bio photograph, it's me and Senator and Congressman Lewis, who had a wonderful line when he spoke to us at the Asian American Legal Defense Fund Gala many years ago, which I have the honor of co-hosting every year for now, I think 15 years, where he said that we all arrived on different ships, but we're on the same boat now. And it just highlighted for me, kind of summarized where we are. And the fact that Mary chose to put John Lewis on there, again, talking about the divide in this country and the racism that not just underpins everything, but now is they're saying the quiet parts out loud. Mary, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And Dr. Tachi says the conservatives are definitely projecting. And Alex is watching. Hello from Alex Counts in Chile, Hyattsville in the University of Maryland. Alex has been a guest on the show, and he's watching. We got to hang out a little bit yesterday. India Giving Day is coming up, and we're so glad that we're able to work together on this very, very important day for philanthropy. And Walter is watching. Professor, thank you for being with us. Look at the combination of headlines. How are institutions collapsing by design to create new social structures around the world? You're right. This is not a bug. This is a feature. The reason Trump and MAGA want to destroy journalism, universities, law firms is because these are institutions that thrive without his influence and can thrive without them. So they need all of those things to collapse. And it's wonderful for Trump and MAGA to not have 300 extra journalists covering them and covering the capital and covering that region. And that's what makes it so upsetting that they have done that. Naomi is watching and says, disgusted and ashamed of the so-called Republic of America, KKKA. And that's, these are things that people would get in trouble for saying in rap songs and in rap albums,
Yeah.
and now it's become mainstream because we're so frustrated and so angry. Patricia says these episodes also support the journalists who are diligent in their service. Absolutely. And Neil reminds us that you can join our mailing list to get these special sections delivered to you. Even if you can't watch us, just send an email to neil@digimentors.group. And Jonathan has a little observation about temperatures in the two systems. And he says minus 22 sounds even worse than -8 Fahrenheit. That's true. And Rose is watching from Connecticut, probably very cold. Rose is a good friend and partner in a lot of things we do. Ooh, and Seishu Badrinath is watching on Facebook, another Connecticut person, a great photographer, photojournalist, and dear friend. Seishu, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. And Patricia says, the New York Times Read Along, an omnipresent production. Thanks for sharing across the board. And Miriam's watching on YouTube on my TV, and that's where I'm watching in one room while I'm sitting on the kitchen table as I'm now seeing you on the phone. What fun. Thank you,
So,
Miriam. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Miriam, I just want to check. So if you're watching on your TV, are you watching it horizontally or vertically? If you, depending on when you joined, I mentioned earlier that for some reason, at least on my system at home, YouTube on my TV defaults to the vertical view, which is not ideal when you're looking at a TV. So if you're seeing just a vertical strip, on your TV, click through to Sree's channel on YouTube on your TV and look for the other stream on YouTube, and you'll have a better experience. Sree, I just want to point out that in addition to some of the comments we're seeing, we also have comments from Twitter that are coming in
Mhm.
that are shared as a tweet, a standalone tweet. But our good friend Anita Joe, who is a loyal viewer, said that she's an advocate for book in hand, writing with pen, paper, and choice. As the tech world has changed things, one huge thing I see missing is choice. Do you want a print copy or do you prefer a digital copy? And that is what I see as sad in so many things, is we are not given a choice.
Well, yeah,
So I just
well,
wanted to
well
share
put.
that
Thank you.
comment from her.
Thank you for that, and thank you for watching. We have about 20 minutes left, folks. Thank you for being with us. And look what Pradnya is doing to help us right now. She has tagged a friend on Facebook. Please tag your friends on any of the channels. They can watch right after this, and they can then get to know about the show and to learn from us and learn with us. Walter Grayson, look what you've done. Thank you. Choose several independent investigative journalism outlets to support. And he mentions others, including Black and White and Red All Over by with Ben Railton,
Ben Relton, yeah.
Historians at the Movies with Jason Herbert, KBLA, The Black Pack, Today with Dr. K, WEEA Minnesota spokesman recorder, and TPT NPR. Lots of Minnesota because the professor lives and works in Minnesota.
I'll point out Dr. K is actually Dr. K Whitehead, who is the head of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. That's the organization that was founded by Carter Woodson, and they brought us Black History Month. And this year
Wow.
they're celebrating 100 years of Black history as a formal celebration. Walter is very involved with that organization, as is Dr. Whitehead. And just want to give a shout out there.
Thank you so much. And look at Pradnya, who's a paid subscriber to the newsletter. And she says, I have 3 1-month gift subscriptions to the Substack. Hit me up if you want one. So nice. Thank you. Ellen's also a supporter. I no longer subscribe to the Washington Post. I canceled. Bezos is too interested in currying up to Trump. Why does the newspaper have to earn money or sustain itself? That's a provocative question. This is democracy and capitalism, so that's why it has to do that. Is this going to be the last book world? They have canceled, I believe, Neil.
Likely.
The book section has been
Yes.
canceled. So
Yes.
if there's one in your Washington Post today, that's a collector's item, sadly.
I do want to get back actually to the comment that we just saw on the screen. I think it was it Miriam that was saying that why does it have to be run as a business? I think it's an interesting conversation to have, Sree, about all the nonprofit entities that are trying to run newspapers as a public good. That's a different approach. I think that the reality is that these are businesses. I mean, I don't think that I wouldn't question the fact that a newspaper, a news organization does have to watch the bottom line and make sure that they're viable. I think the question here is that Jeff Bezos had the resources to make the Washington Post viable.
$40 is all it would take for him to do that. Our equivalent to $40.
Our equivalent of $40, right? How much he spent on the Melania documentary,
40 million,
all the other
yeah,
things, doesn't matter. So that's not the question. I don't think it's a question that they couldn't figure out how to make it work. He bought the paper from the Grahams, gave it a big infusion over the first few years. The Washington Post was incredible in the first few years under Trump, and then he seems to have walked away from it.
Well, because of business. It's because he needs the support of Trump. That's why all these tech bros have gone from being progressive, liberal, interested in humanity, interested in working with people, and just turn their backs on all of us. Debbie says, hi from DC. The sun and 32-degree weather will come out tomorrow. And she's also recommending NewsGuard. It fact checks both sides, reliable and interesting. And Mary recommends ProPublica. They do some great investigations. And Pradnya says, this is why I read and give to The Guardian. Thank you for doing that. And Rose says, what U.S. national newspapers are left? Competition is integral to good journalism. Absolutely right. Alex says, let's not forget that many quality journalists remain at the Washington Post and need a moral support to keep going as best as they can. Important point, right? When everybody was walking away from the Washington Post 2024, what happened is 11 days before the election, the Washington Post had endorsed Kamala Harris and was ready to publish that. Jeff Bezos killed it with Will Lewis. And as a result, hundreds of thousands of people cancel their Washington Post subscription. As you know, Neil, in today's culture, people say I'll cancel and I'll stop giving money and all of that. Sometimes they're not even subscribers. But in this case, it actually took place. And I didn't cancel because I
No.
felt that I wanted to support the journalists who are there. And unfortunately, the economics of all of this, but is problematic. But as I write in my essay and as we've discussed, Bezos isn't doing this because it's losing money. He's losing the equivalent of $40 for us. $40 is real money. But if you owned a world-class business, wouldn't you reach into your pocket to put in $40 10
Yeah.
times, 100 times
Yeah.
to save your world-class organization and to save the jobs of all of these people? And it's so frustrating. We have a very good friend named Peter Bhatia, who was at the Detroit Free Press, was told to lay off X number of people. And he said he laid himself off because he could
Yes.
save five, six jobs. And it was so important what he did. And others should be doing things like that. And they did not.
I'll
Uh,
I'll say, Sree, when I was in Washington, D.C. the first time, I used to get the print copy of both the New York Times and the Washington Post on my doorstep every morning. I particularly appreciate being able to compare coverage from one paper to another and see what are the choices they're making. What's on the front page of this paper versus the other paper. I've switched to I get the Sunday paper, the New York Times, but I get both digitally, and I'm still looking at both papers because you need multiple sources. As much as we love the New York Times and we've grown up with the New York Times, it can't be your only source of news. And the Washington Post was doing great work. Foreign coverage was incredible. It's just sad to see where it has gone. What Bezos has done with eviscerating such an incredible paper, much less the sports desk, the sports journalists that have come out of the Washington Post.
So that reminds me, Neil, that next week we have a very important show.
Yes.
We're going to pay tribute to the Washington Post as it exists as of yesterday of this week, and we're going to do it in the way we did tribute to the New York Times sports desk when it was killed. And what
Yep.
we have here is the screenshot of what we did in July 2023. This is one of the most important things we've ever done in the course of this show. And what we did was a celebration of the New York Times sports desk. We had all these Pulitzer Prize winners and legends from the New York Times join us to talk about the sports desk. We're going to do that about the Washington Post next week, Sunday, 8:30 a.m. We're going to have journalists from multiple former folks who work there, media observers. We're going to give you that list. Please sign up for Neil's email so he can remind you the night before who's in the lineup. We are going to have a very, very special and important show. So please join us next week to talk about the Washington Post and to talk about the world that we have just lost. Past the headlines, see the escalating crisis across the nation, start creating solutions in your communities now. Great
That's from
advice.
Walter, Sree.
Thank you,
That's from
Walter, for
Walter
that.
Grayson.
Thank you, Walter. And so many comments. New York Times is about the only U.S. newspaper figuring out the new media landscape. Their digital investigation team does breakthrough
Yes.
work. If you aren't listening to the Irish Stew podcast, please do. You don't have to be Irish to love Irish culture and all the stories they tell. Irish folks are known for being great storytellers, and they do a great job there. Our friend John Lee and others. So many comments coming in. We're not able to show them all, but we certainly appreciate all of you. Sudha is telling us that Trump is ruining journalism, and Patricia says that she didn't cancel the Washington Post for the same reason. Look, Patricia lives in New York. I live in New York, but we want the Washington Post to succeed. But it's going to be very hard for them to do that now at this point. Kara Swisher wanted to buy the Post. They didn't even respond. A group of local businessmen and women went to uh, Will Lewis and said, "We'll buy the sports section. We'll partner with you on local news." And they said no. And Susan writes in saying, I have heard good things about ground news. You can search news items by worldview, left, right, or center. I haven't subscribed yet. Does anyone know the platform? This is great that people are suggesting so many things here. And our friend and former producer of the show is watching from Tallahassee Airport. Hi, Paula Kiger. And Paula asked us to let her know what we're doing next Sunday, and we're hoping she'll be able to watch and participate next week. Shashi says, I didn't cancel the print Washington Post to support the good reporters who are still there. My thoughts here. So he's written about that. So you can check him out on LinkedIn. And Jay's watching. It's so important to read a number of different news sources. Yes, Neil. And Patricia says, I remember when you had that episode, so memorable and honorable. She is talking about this episode we did in tribute to the New York Times Sports Desk. We're going to do a tribute to the Washington Post. Please join us for that. And then here is a comment from our friend Ron Thomas. I canceled my New York Times subscription a while back, as well as the Washington Post. I'm done with mainstream media. Ron lives in Dubai, travels all over the world. He is the target demographic of mainstream American publications as an American abroad. But that's a very strong statement from him. He does watch the New York Times read along, but has canceled his subscriptions to these other publications. And Lippy is watching from Milan. What fun at the Olympics!
Wow.
And Dr. Lippy Roy is going to be giving a TEDx talk in Austin, and I know that people will be very excited to see that. She's been on the show, a great explainer of health and medical news and information. Check out her Sita Med website and find her on social media. And Patricia says this information is quite suspicious. Why they turn down all these offers? Because it's not about the money. When they tell you it's because of the money, that means it's not because of the money. We've established now it was about $40 for you and me that it would cost Bezos to run the Washington Post, to save the Washington Post, but he's not interested in that. And that's very sad. Neil, we have less than 10 minutes and we haven't even gotten to the paper. So I'm going to just very quickly rush through them because we owe that to our friends who are watching. We are so grateful to all of you for being here with us. The Sunday Opinion cover is it says, the self enriching money machine. Banks used to build things. Now they just move money around and squeeze us all for profit. Thank you. That's the opinion section. I thought that was an 8. That's actually a dollar sign. And then headline here, when you're undocumented, turning 18 is different. And it's done as a kind of graphic novel here. And it says, if you don't file for asylum before you're 18, the risk goes up. So if you know anyone who falls in that category, please tell them that by the time they're 18, they must uh, read this and understand what this is. ICE is watching you. What happens after the collapse of political parties? Lots to read in the opinion section. The Sunday business cover is sports of some kind. Let's see. What is it? And it says the next WNBA might be I guess this is women's pro volleyball. And that's exciting. If there's another league that does bring together women's sports, I'm very excited about that. Romance makes way for chatbots to write its stories. As novelists churn out pages with AI's help, not everyone is feeling the love. And Sunday Styles cover is a new fashion lineage. Anna Sui ushers her brand into the future with the help of three nieces. So there's Anna Sui and the three nieces that are doing great things in fashion and out of step with their shoppers. Department stores are losing their luster, and a bankruptcy reopens debates about their fate. I understand that malls are making kind of a comeback with Gen Z. That doesn't mean department stores, especially fancy ones, will have that. I just wanted to show you a headline in yesterday's business section. The Taj Mahal conspiracy theory is embraced by Bollywood. A film breathes new life into discredited claims about a crown jewel. The New York Times Magazine cover is Inside the Siege, Scenes from Minneapolis. Such an important story, and to be given the New York Times Magazine treatment, a story by Charles Homans and photography by Philip Montgomery. Just look at this scared child on the
Yeah.
cover of the magazine. That's what we have been reduced to in this country. And it's so frustrating that that's happened. Lippy says, I'll be covering health issues at the Milan Olympics. And yes, TEDx in Austin, March 10th. And Prabodh is watching. Good morning, PK Sharma and family in Chappaqua, home of the Clintons. And they're in the news because they're fighting it out about testifying in front of Congress about the Epstein Files. And the arts and leisure cover is Bad Bunny. And for those of you who haven't been following it, Mr. Bunny in the second reference at the New York Times, maybe Neil, I don't know.
No, they actually lead with his full name in the article.
Okay, all the time. They use it every time. But did they say
No,
Mr.?
I know they started with his full name in that
But do
piece.
they
If you
say
take
Mr. Bunny throughout?
no,
How
I
to
don't
Mr.
think
Bad
so.
Bunny? Benito Antonio
Benito
Marti.
and
Right.
exactly. Martinez Ocasio.
Yeah. Known to millions as Bad Bunny, is headlining the Super Bowl. He just won the Grammy for Album of the Year. Now he's about to take one of America's most high profile stages with a performance poised to make history and generate controversy. MAGA is mad that it's going to be a Spanish language artist. They think, among other things, that he's not American, but he is American. He's from Puerto Rico, which is an American territory. And there's just, I saw Spotify, when you log in, the first thing you see is Bad Bunny. So they're kind of trolling Trump and all of MAGA. If you open your Spotify, Apple Music is runs the Super Bowl halftime show. And so even though Tim Cook has been sucking up, Eddie Q, who runs Apple Music, clearly was poking an eye at Trump. But it's also he's the most streamed artist in the world, so it makes good business sense to be diverse. And some people said, why do we have these non-Americans? Yes, he's American, but we've had Shania Twain, who's Canadian. We've had the Rolling Stones, who are
Rolling
British.
Stones.
Coldplay. Yeah.
It's crazy. The number. I mean, if they're looking at non-Americans who play the Super Bowl, who performed at the Super Bowl, I do want to make one style note, Sree. In the article, they actually refer to him as Bad Bunny throughout the article.
Okay.
Full, both the full moniker. They only once refer to his full name again as the artist born,
Mr.
born as,
Ocasio. Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. John says, I hope
Senior.
I would hope he would be Senor Bad Bunny. Senor Bunny.
Yeah.
Senor Bunny.
Senior Bunny, maybe.
And Kid Rock is headlining the Sideline halftime show.
Talking
Check
Points
out his lyrics.
USA.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for
Yeah,
time.
the values, the
Yeah.
stuff that it's crazy. I do want, Sree, before we finish the show, I do want to make a quick plug for the show that I'm doing on Thursday, Shining Light on Shadows. This is the mental health show that I've been hosting for this is our third year now. And on Thursday, February 12th at 7 p.m., our guest is going to be Dr. Michael Kane. We're going to be focusing on Black mental health, trauma, and its impacts across the lifespan. What I think is interesting about there are a couple things. One, in reviewing what he's going to talk about, there are several things that are unique to Black Americans that, in terms of mental health, but most of what he talks about is actually universal across demographics. More importantly, he was my therapist when I was in Seattle for 10 years. And when I started the show, I didn't actually, I hadn't told anyone that I was seeing a therapist or that I had anxiety and depression. And to come full circle and to know that I can introduce my former therapist to our audience is pretty incredible. So I'm encouraging everyone to watch for Black History Month. He does not observe Black History Month. He's very adamant about that because why only 30 days or 28 days?
Yeah. Why give the short? I think there's a Chris Rock line. Why give the shortest month to Black History?
Right. So he celebrates it all year long. But he did want to make sure he joined us in February so he can share some of his insights.
Look at this. I thought that was a typo, but it's not. That's how he spells his name, with an E-A-L.
And there's an underline, and that's from when I saw him in Seattle. That's how he would write his name out. So I made sure to underline the EAL in Michael Caine.
I'm sure Neil will ask him about that. So please tune in. Neil's show is so important. We don't talk about mental health enough. Men don't talk about mental health enough. South Asian men do not talk about mental health enough. And Neil's been doing this now for 3 seasons, and it's so special. And let's see, we have a couple of quick comments, and then we have to go. Mary says, "Why wouldn't the NFL go with the most popular artist in the world? It's all about the bottom line. The alternative, I could see Kid Rock at a Bolorama with a pair of shoes thrown
Or
in for the price."
he could maybe do the Puppy Bowl.
Hey, why insult the poor puppies? Why traumatize them? And if for those of you who are not American, you may not know, but there's this counter programming that happens called the Puppy Bowl, where they run a
Yes.
bunch of little puppies running around. It's so much fun. And Lippy Roy says Shakira is Colombian, Adele is British, and The Weeknd is Canadian. Lippy, as a proud Canadian, is pointing that out.
Shakira, half Colombian, half Middle Eastern, Lebanese, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Her hips don't lie. She's not 100% Colombian. She's mixed.
okay, but that makes sense. Patricia says, "Thank you for another great episode." Promote says, "Sree, my granddaughter Ariana, 5 years old, is also listening to your broadcast." Oh my God! Hi, Ariana. We're so happy that you could join us. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Promote, for getting young people interested in the news, the next generation, and the next generation there. So that's great. Pradnya says, "Thank goodness for a good therapist." Shout out to my therapist and my psychiatrist. Thank you,
Yes.
Pradnya, for willing to be.
Pradnya has been a guest on our show.
Yes.
So she's talked about mental health issues, particularly in the workplace. Pradnya, thank you so much for doing that.
Jay Palaki says, "Thank you, Neil and Sree." Naomi with breaking news: the Kid Rock show has been canceled by the people who are against canceling. So that's good. John says, "Yes, Lebanese. Thank you for a nice show, Sudha. This was fantastic. Both of you make my Sundays." Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Tachi.
you.
I would really appreciate it. And thank you for lending us some of your sunshine from Florida. And a good show, says Ellen. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We're very grateful to every one of you watching live or later. And we are going to now go to work. We're going to put up those 3 different special sections as PDFs, available nowhere else on the planet except on the digimentors.group website. Look for the New York Times
Yeah.
Read Along tab, go down into this episode and download it, and you will have it. If you sign up for Neil's mailing list, you will get them sent to you in the future. They do, I don't know, a dozen, maybe 20, 30 of these a year.
We'll be sending a notification out today when they're up, a special follow-up email. But they do special sections, the cooking specials we always get, the inserts, the special reports. The New York Times has been very generous with sharing these special sections with us so that we can share it with our audience. So we, the 52 places to go is another example that we've been able to share with folks. Just so people, even if you're not subscribing to the New York Times, to see the journalism, to see the work that's being put out, I think is pretty incredible.
Thank you. And Shashi, thank you for your comments. Everyone who watched, we're very grateful. We ask always that if you can do a couple of things. One, tag a friend right now. They can join and watch this. As soon as this is over, they can watch this. And please subscribe to my newsletter. You see my address right there, sreenet.substack.com. And please tune in Thursday to watch Neil's very important mental health show. Interesting to have a topic around Black mental health, and to have an African American who doesn't believe in Black History Month as one of the guests. And there's just so much going on, folks.
Limited Black History Month.
Exactly. And go and buy Girl Scout cookies. If there's anyone in your lives who wants a Girl Scout cookie, talk to Neil. Just find them online. Pradnya and Neil are always competing for like the championship of being the best parents to.
We're not competing.
Not competing with each other, but you're going for the title of being able to. Pradnya can weave it in any situation. She can weave in Girl Scout cookies, and you can do what I do. If you don't want the cookies because they're too good, you can just donate. The $5 goes directly as digital. You can buy what's called digital cookies, and it goes to money to the girls in the Girl Scout the girls in the Girl Scouts. So, folks, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next week. We have a very special show. Reminder: we're going to do the equivalent of what we did for the New York Times Sports Desk. We're going to say goodbye to the Washington Post Sports Desk, the Washington Post Foreign Editions, and the Washington Post photographers. So please join us 8:30 Sunday. Tell everybody to join us on these channels, and please follow Neil and me on all of these channels. Thanks very much, everybody.
If
Goodbye.
you joined us late, just a quick reminder that when we're finished with the show, you'll be able to watch it from the beginning on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on our Digimentors website. So please feel free to go back once we are off the air. It'll just take a minute or two, and then we'll also be uploading the show to Spotify, and you'll be able to see it on Apple Podcasts
Yes,
as
as well.
well.
Hey, look, you sold some Girl Scout cookies.
I'll
And
follow up, Patricia. Thank you.
and Emily and Mirza, those are their daughters, are all about the cookies. Thank you very much, everybody. We're super
Thank you.
grateful. Jay, thank you for watching. Everyone, goodbye. Thank you very
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye bye.